As gamers, I think we all hate being told what to do. Even if we like really strict narrative-driven story games, we still like to have options. We still like to have things to explore and find out for ourselves. Experiences matter more when they don't feel forced. And I think with the last several Call of Duty games and many other shooters, the games feel like they're forcing you into something, when I personally like a more unpredictable, varied experience in my shooters. Now, this should always go without saying, but feel free to disagree with me, but I do not like competitive sanctioned maps in video games. I don't like it when a shooter is just full of maps that are completely symmetrical, that feel like a carbon copy of the map before it and the map after it. And although they might have a gimmick, although they might have this one asymmetrical part that's not in other maps, really, you're getting the same exact forced engagements. Doesn't matter if the map is taking place during the day, in the desert, in the city, at night, in a snowstorm, the game is still forcing the same engagements on you. Something I really liked about old Call of Duty games, old Halo games, and the most recent one was probably Call of Duty Ghosts maps and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare's DLC maps. There was a distinct variety of experiences between each map and within each map. Alright, so fair question, how does this relate to Call of Duty World War II? That's in the title, it's in the thumbnail, everybody's talking about Call of Duty World War II. Well, Call of Duty World War II has a map that people have told me to pronounce it 3 different ways, so I'm just going to say it the way it comes to me, Aachen. And Aachen is an interesting map. It's fundamentally a 3-lane map, but one of the lanes in the middle is very open and it has very little cover, except for 2 trolleys on each side. The other sides of the map, the other 2 lanes, are full of head glitch spots. And if you go behind those 2 lanes to the spawn areas are very, very long, to the point that you can be spawning on one side of the spawn area while the enemies are on the other side of your spawn area. Now, I've never been spawn trapped on this map, but I have gotten into some quick combat by spawning into a couple people shooting at me. Ideally, that wouldn't happen, but I found myself enjoying this map and the map Gibraltar the most out of the beta because they're interesting. And what I like is that the other 2 maps, which is Ardennes Forest, I believe, Ardennes Forest, and Pointe du Hoc, are also very different from each other and very different from Gibraltar and Aachen. Fuck. Oh, and the gameplay you're seeing here, this is a gameplay, like one of my first matches sniping in the beta. This was, I think, on the 31st of August. So this was before the official start of the beta, and I just decided I wanted to sit up and see if I could kind of grandpa snipe and do some traditional hard scoping and just kind of lock down our spawn area. And I'm pleased to say that this was not only possible, but I feel like it was even beneficial. It at least wasn't a detriment to my team. And I'm not one of those people that thinks that video game sniping should be like real life sniping. I am the opposite of that. Comparing in-game first-person shooter mechanics to how things are in real life is kind of foolish in my opinion. And because I don't want to earn back my normie status, I'm never going to compare it to real sniping. Just because something happens in real life doesn't mean it makes a good video game. If you want those kind of realistic experiences, I recommend getting a gaming computer, getting games like Verdun, Squad, or Insurgency, even though Insurgency is still a bit on the arcadey side. Heroes and Generals works too, but that's also a little bit more battlefieldy. But I digress. Basically, I like the idea that in a first-person shooter, I am just as useful, it is just as beneficial to rush enemies with an SMG, to corner people with shotguns, to pepper them with fucking volleys of grenades, as it is to be a methodical, dare I say stealthy, sniper. And this doesn't have to be about sniping. What I'm saying is that ideally, there would be a variety of experiences from map to map and within each map. Meaning, I don't think every map needs to have an area for snipers, an area for SMG users, an area for AR users. I'm not saying that in the slightest. What I'm saying is, I'm glad that in the beta we were able to see maps that are way faster paced, way more hectic. We got to see a map with verticality, We got to see a very simple, basic 3-lane map that really worked. And then we got to see a less conventional 3-lane map with a lot of options for combat variety. Now, in my weird, like, just for fun rant about Call of Duty World War II beta videos, I pointed out that Prestigious Key didn't like the unused areas of the map Aachen, talking about how the spawn positions were too big, there were areas that you could only get to from one side but couldn't jump up from the other side. And I'm going to make an assumption here, and this isn't necessarily Prestige's opinion, but this leans towards where I see Call of Duty going, and it might even be a reason I leave it behind one day, is that every time something is complicated, every time something is original or kind of just complex in any sort of way, something that has its own character, it's rejected for simplicity, for predictability. And I don't like the trend of thought that I'm seeing with Call of Duty YouTubers. I feel like seeing Nadeshot talk about wanting flinch removed and tons of people agreeing with him, seeing T. Martin talk about how he's so happy that spawn trapping's back, seeing Prestige complain about the most complicated map in the game. The only thing worse than these complaints are the people complaining that this isn't a realistic video game. It was never going to be. Shut up. But really though, do we just want Call of Duty to be this simplistic, dry variety game? I am fine with getting rid of frustrations. I am fine of getting rid of things that have no place. But saying that map variety has no place, saying that the counterplay that Flinch introduces has no place, saying that spawn trapping is good. The reason I might turn my back on Call of Duty is if the community finally gets a game that they really want, apparently that they really want. They get what they want. They get a Call of Duty with next to no flinch, with super simplistic, basic 3-lane maps. Nothing cheesy. I mean, I'm all for things that aren't overpowered or aren't frustrating, but nothing even the slightest bit cheesy or fun. So basically, we'll just get Counter-Strike Call of Duty Edition, like a more simplified version of Counter-Strike, because even Counter-Strike has complexities to their gunplay and complexities to their map design. But what I'm saying is, if we're just going to go back to the raw cocaine of Call of Duty, we're just going to peel at Call of Duty until it's nothing more than a basic Twitch reaction shooter, I'm going to get bored. I like that Call of Duty World War II's beta gave me a variety of experiences. I like that it made me think. I like that I had to learn it. It has a long way to go, and I'm going to make a video about all the things I want fixed in Call of Duty World War II. But oversimplifying the maps, making gunfights easier for me, are not the things I'm looking for. Gameplay variety, combat variety, engagement variety in a first-person shooter is important to me. And I think it's going to be important to a lot of people once they don't have it. Once they don't have those interesting map spots, once they don't have interesting weapons or gun mechanics. Once Call of Duty is so stripped of its charm, so stripped of its character, that it's indistinguishable from the game before it, that's when I'm gonna leave. And I hope that doesn't happen. So the maps in Call of Duty World War II, I enjoyed them. The beta showed a good variety of maps that add a good variety of gameplay variety. Point to Hawk, small and chaotic. Ardennes Forest, shit, I don't remember how to pronounce it, the forest map, the snowy forest map. Very basic 3-lane design, but it works. I never had too many bad times on that, except for the fact there's a flank route a little close to a spawn, but I could overlook that, and I usually would just nade it as soon as I would spawn if I noticed people were there. Gibraltar, which actually has verticality in it. I did not expect to hear Sledgehammer developers during the Game Informer interview to say that they wanted Gibraltar to have verticality. That makes me happy. That means that they know that variety is good. Having a map with verticality, having a map with open lanes, having a map with big spawn areas, having a map with tight trenches, that is beautiful, Sledgehammer. Please keep that up. Because then you have Aachen, which is reminiscent of a World at War map or a COD 4 map, but with that in-frame 3-lane design that a lot of people have grown to expect from Call of Duty, but still that little touch of asymmetry that I love that makes the maps interesting. So I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below about Call of Duty World War II and the maps and weapons. I can't promise I'm going to reply to all of them, But if I've read your comment and I agree with it or I see where you're coming from, I will hit the little love button on it, the little heart button, and you should get a notification in your email or on Google, or I don't know where people get the notifications for those. But basically, I will acknowledge your comment the best that I can. And if you're a YouTuber watching this, I would love to hear why you think the way that you think. Please let me know down in the comment section below. And I think this is one of my more well put together commentaries. But I don't know, maybe I'm just tired. This beta's killing me. I'm actually getting up early, going to bed late. This is weird. Anyway, I'll see you when I see you guys. Goodbye!
Bitch.
Yeah.
I'm the only one actually doing decent tactics. Something I don't know.
Seconds left. Tank is backing up.
Vietnam! Fish, you can't move your tank. Yeah, I hear it scream.
Tank is retreating. 10 seconds left.
The speed. Nah, they can't win. That's a possibility.
The enemy's near the tank. Their tank is pulling back. We've won.
There we go.
Nice.
Somebody get me a contract. Holy shit, that's fun.